ESPN James Jones. James, to you first. Do the Dallas Cowboys have the pieces to hang the second loss of the season on the New England Patriots?
Absolutely, and you just seen one of the main pieces, and that's Dak Prescott. When I watch Dak Prescott, I think it's time to put some respect on Dak Prescott's name. Usually, when you in the end of the game situation, you want the ball in Zeke's hands. Now, you want this ball in Dak's hands. Dak is making all the throws. He's making everybody on the field better. And I believe that the Dallas Cowboys have the advantage in this game because they can run the ball. And when you can run the ball with Zeke, that means you get man-to-man on the back end, what the Patriots do 70% of the time. And what Dak has been special at is going away from Coop and getting it to Randall Cobb and getting it to Gallup and spreading this ball around. And they are going to have one-on-one coverage. In the last 2 weeks, these two guys have been going off, and Dak has been finding them. Gallup, Randall Cobb has been making plays all over the field. You better believe that Stephon Gilmore is going to go with Amari Cooper to try to take him away. They are going to be on the number 2 and the number 3 corners, and you better believe it's going to be man-to-man because if you don't load the box up, they're going to run it down your throat. So you got to load the box up, and Dak will make the throws to Gallup and Cobb, and they will win this ballgame.
Oh, there's a pick right there. You buying what he's selling?
I'm definitely not buying it.
Well, okay.
First of all, it's always good to get on the show with you, but we know we're on the same page. Right now, we're all some kind of way. This is what I'm going to tell you. The last time the Cowboys actually played a halfway decent defense, or let's say a good defense, was New Orleans Saints.
No Packers?
New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
What happened?
They lost.
When they played the Packers, what happened?
They lost.
Those are good defenses, right?
But Dak played well, though.
But they didn't win. And so you're telling me that the Dallas Cowboys, who historically on the road don't do well, is going to go into Foxborough and beat the New England Patriots. I don't care what those stats said about
You don't
Tom
care about
Brady.
the formula.
Okay.
You
got to go into Foxborough and try to beat the Patriots. And this is the thing. Understand this. That defense that you're going to face from New England, it's serious. Remember, the only guy that took advantage of them was Lamar Jackson. Dak isn't running like that. He doesn't have the speed. That's not his style. He wants to be a pocket passer.
And he's a better passer.
But it doesn't matter.
And better weapons on the outside.
All I'm saying, the defense is going to show up, and Tom Brady always shows up in these big-time games. I firmly believe that the home-road split that you see for the Cowboys, who struggled against a Jeff Driscoll-led Lions, They can't lost to the Jets.
Yeah, you can't
go into Foxborough and think you're gonna win.
But you're talking about a Patriots team that's been like lighting it up on offense and going. They've been struggling as well.
Okay, I got to be like the referee right here. Break, gentlemen, break.
I'm just saying they've been winning.
Patriots here, Cowboys here. You both agree on this one. These are two of the most high-profile franchises in NFL history. Whoever wins this game, the social media for that team is just going to be beating their chest, talking about Super Bowl, here we come. Delicious matchup in Foxborough, Cowboys and Patriots. Speaking of social media, here's what the Indianapolis Colts posted. Oh, look at styling here as they are heading out to Thursday Night Football. That is Chester Rogers, Eric Ebron, Jacoby Brissett, and T.Y. Hilton. Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. Colts Texans. Winner gets first place in the AFC South. The game is going to be down in Houston tomorrow, which is where we find our James Palmer.
We know how dominant this Colts rushing attack can be, so the Texans need to keep them off the field and extend their own drives. So keep an eye on DeAndre Hopkins, who's second in the NFL with 75 catches, but 47 of those have gone for first downs. Bill O'Brien told me it's because he knows every single nuance and every single position of their offense, and they can line them up anywhere. It makes it difficult on defenses. Deshaun Watson told me the two of them's chemistry is brilliant, and they both know where they're going with the football pre-snap by recognizing holes in defenses. And DeAndre Hopkins told me it comes down to his film study this past offseason, where he studied Julian Edelman extensively. He loves Edelman as a receiver because he always finds a way to get an extra 4 or 5 yards and keep the Patriots on the field. What Hopkins wants to do is the exact same thing, keeping the Colts off of it.
Huge game from a playoff standpoint. The first ever Thursday night game this late in the season in which first place is on the line for both teams. As you see here, Indy's in that top spot right now, but only because of their head-to-head win over the Texans in Week 7. If the Texans win tomorrow, they take that away and they move back into the division lead. The question now for Kurt Warner, how did they do that? Because as we all know, they're coming off a rather rough outing against the Ravens, and the Colts did beat them last time they played.
Yeah, Linz, I think it starts with being able to run the football. Last time these teams played, the Texans didn't have anybody that rushed for more than 35 yards. You got to take some of that pressure off of your young quarterback. We saw last week when can't run the football, and it all falls back to that passing game. I don't think they're quite there yet from a passing standpoint to be able to depend on that with 35 or 40 throws. So offensively, get Carlos Hyde going downhill. The play action game has been really good for them, but it only works if you're running the football. And then defensively, last time they did a nice job of stopping the run, which they've done for the last couple years. You got to do that again. Stop the run and force Jacoby Brissett to beat you through the air. He can do it, but you got to make them one-dimensional.
A lot of penalties last time, also field goals in the red zone. I'm sure those are a couple things they're focused on changing this time around as well. How about the Eagles? Clearly struggling to find any consistency on offense with guys going in and out of the lineup. But that game on Sunday was a particularly tough one for Carson Wentz. What do you see when you watch tape of him?
Well, the biggest thing is a lack of consistency. Week to week, he can have one great game, and then the next one's a bad game. Not seeing the field extremely well. When I went back and watched the tape, and now Patriots are good. They're not going to give you wide open guys all over the field throughout the course of the game, but you got to stick with your reads. You got to see what they're doing, and you got to be able to scan the field and get through your progressions. And really felt like Carson had trouble really seeing the field and knowing where to go. He would look at one guy, that guy wasn't there, and then he kind of ran around and tried to make a play. You just can't live in that world week in and week out. You got to know what you're seeing. You got to scan the field. You got to go through your progressions, and you got to make tough throws.
They were in a tough one last week against the Patriots. They got another tough draw this week against the Seahawks at home. Of course, the Seahawks have been great on the road. That's a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. Kurt Warner's top 5 quarterbacks of Week 11 still ahead. In the meantime, we've got a Myles Garrett sighting today in New York. The Cleveland Browns defensive lineman with representatives from the NFL Players Association at his side appealing the NFL's decision to suspend him indefinitely for his role in last Thursday's fight at the end of the Browns game against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. There was a fight in which Garrett removed Mason Rudolph's helmet and hit him over the head with it. Ian Rappaport, what's his argument?
Lindsay, Myles Garrett has 2 separate arguments to help, in his mind, either reduce the suspension or even make it finite. And the reason I say finite is because Garrett believes and has argued that the CBA does nothing. Mason Rudolph, the Steelers quarterback, he did apologize and make his point clear today to reporters, but he is going to be fined for his role in this fight. We should find out about that either Friday or Saturday.
Speaking of Mason Rudolph, Ian, you mentioned we heard from him today, and he did strike a much more conciliatory tone than we heard from him last Thursday.
I should have done a better job handling that situation. I have no ill will towards Myles Garrett. Great respect for his ability as a player, and I know that if Myles could go back, he would handle the situation differently. As for my involvement last week, there's no acceptable excuse. The bottom line is I should have done a better job keeping my composure in that situation, and it falls short of what I believe it means to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and a member of the NFL.
We can't control that. We couldn't control initially. We couldn't, all the sentencing and stuff like that. We're just going to control what we control. We have nothing to do with that. Myles has great representation, but more importantly, Myles will represent himself well. We're going to continue to support him and Larry, and we will not waver with that support.
Let's get the latest headlines now and some more fallout from that game from Thursday Night Football last week. It doesn't sound like the Steelers are going to have Juju Smith-Schuster this Sunday against Cincinnati. Juju did not practice today. He's dealing with a knee injury and is in concussion protocol. Both those issues happened on this play, that same play in that loss to the Browns 6 days ago. Mitch Trubisky said today that his hip injury feels, quote-unquote, a lot better, and he hopes to play Sunday against the Giants. Trubisky was injured in the first half of the loss to the Rams, but he didn't miss time in the game until late in the second half. The team is calling the injury a hip pointer. Notable injuries going into week number 12. The Wednesday practice report, DJ Chark was limited for the Jags. James Conner, Nelson Aguilar did not practice for their respective teams. DeMarcus Lawrence, Jameis Winston both did practice for the Cowboys and Bucks, respectively.
for this one. The best game of the week in my book, the Sunday night game in Santa Clara. 8-2 Packers currently in the 2 seed spot in the NFC versus the 9-1 Niners currently in the top spot. So they've had to work for the last few weeks to stay there. Kyler Murray causing all sorts